this is Rick Pena. I want to welcome you to another 5-Minute Fix. I'm sitting in what I call the scene of the crime. I mean, I'm in my kitchen. Obviously, it's the Thanksgiving weekend. We've had a lot of food over the last few days. I definitely ate too much, and you probably did too. But Thanksgiving is one of those holidays that gives us an opportunity to look back and just to think about how much we can be thankful for. And one of the greatest things I'm thankful for is my growth in Christ, my experiences in Christ. I'm talking about, I gave my life to Christ August 27, 1995. And when I look back, yeah, I mean, I can thank God for stuff, but more importantly, I want to thank God for my walk with Him and how He's brought me along the way. And like most people, I guess I have major milestones. I can think about major things that God has brought me through in stages and phases and seasons in my life. And as I think about those things, I can acknowledge the fact that really, when I finally got the breakthrough, a lot of times it was not an issue of whether or not God could. He could do that from day one. A lot of times it was just an issue of whether or not I could believe. It was like God was waiting on me. He was working on me. It wasn't like I needed to wait on Him. So this week, I just want to tell you that we serve a God of no limits. I mean, literally, He's a God of no limits. And when you get ready, Terry Savelle Foy says, Jerry Savelle's daughter, she says, when you get ready, then get ready. I mean, because when you get ready, I mean, when you're really at the stage that you believe God, then get ready, because that's when you open the door to the possibility of it. And that's when God is free to literally move, operate in your life. In Mark 9, there was a situation where a man had a little boy and he had all these seizures, and he kept falling down and having convulsions, and sometimes he would fall in the fire, get burned, sometimes he would fall in the water, and it was almost to the point where he would drown, and he was frustrated, and he brought him to Jesus, his disciples, and they couldn't believe him, they couldn't heal him, and so he brought him to Jesus. And he said, listen, if you can do anything, have mercy on us and help us. If you can do it, then please do it. And Jesus is like, if I can? Jesus in Mark 9:23 says, all things are possible to him that believes. The issue is not whether or not God can. The issue is whether or not we can believe. Let me just share a quick few nuggets with you for this week. Number one, there's literally nothing that God can't do. I mean, get that out of your mind. I mean, we serve a God of no limits. So there's literally nothing that He cannot do. If you sit here and you're like, oh man, can he deal with my daughter or my marriage or my career or my body? Listen, there's nothing God cannot do. I mean, when the doctors say no, when the banks say no, when the counselors say no, when the therapists say no, there's nothing God can't do. God can put a yes where the world put a no. There's nothing that He cannot do. Number two is that any limit that you perceive of God is an artificial limit you've placed on Him. So if you have these artificial limits that you've placed on a limitless God, then you're really limiting Him from operating in your life. It's not that He can't do it. It's just that you're hindering Him because you won't believe. You're hindering Him is because you don't believe. And as a believer, we're called to be believers, not doubters. We're literally called believers. Well, guess what? I run into believers all the time who just don't believe. They don't believe God. But when you do believe, and your belief opens up the door to it. Yeah, you got to operate by faith, but belief opens the door. Faith walks through it. But if you never get to the belief stage, you'll never get to the faith stage. Number three, as we grow in Christ, then our experiences should expand our capacity to believe. I remember the first time God did anything for me, like, that I thought was supernatural. I kept having these nosebleeds. I gave my life to Christ in Kuwait, and the air was really dry, and my nose would bleed all the time. And sometimes it would bleed, and it would be a long time before I can get the bleeding to stop. And so I had an opportunity where I was a new Christian, and my nose was bleeding, and I said, you know what? I'm going to try this prayer thing out. I'm going to try this God thing out. And God, I want you to help me and please heal my nosebleed. And so a lot of times I would go into the bathroom and the blood would come down where I would have to, spit. I would have to eject it out of my mouth. And I said, God, when I go in here and I spit, I just ask you that after that, no more blood to come out. And this is something that would take a long time, but immediately I went to the bathroom, I let that thing go, and then it was gone, and the blood was gone, and I was excited, and I was a new Christian, and I went and told everybody about it. Why? Because that experience helped expand my capacity to believe. It was a small thing, now thinking about it, but then it was big. And since God did that, it was like, now I can believe him for something else. If you can't believe God to heal you of a headache thing, obviously you're never going to believe him for cancer. I mean, your experiences with God should and can expand your capacity to believe. Oh, no, this is the last one. The more you can believe, then the more is possible for you. The more you can believe, then the more it literally becomes possible for you. It's not like God can't do it. He can. But if you don't believe it, then it's just not possible for you. I keep talking about healing, but that's a common thing. Some people say, well, I don't believe healing is for today. Well, then healing, it's not that healing is not possible. It's just that healing is not possible for you if you don't believe. So my message to you for this week is, listen, whatever limit you have on your limitless God, let's take that thing off. I'm talking about, as you prepare for 2012, remind yourself that you serve a God of no limits. There's nothing he can't do. So take the limits off, believe God for great things, allow God to move in your life, look back to look forward, develop a forward ever, backward never mentality. And the more you can believe him for, the more you open the door for him to move in your life. All things are possible to him who believes. Are you a believer? If you believe it, then you can receive it. I'm Rick Pina. This has been your 5-Minute Fix. God bless you.